Hello, I'm your host, Jim McLean. Welcome to another episode of More Than Pixels on a Screen, a podcast brought to you by the Bandaflix Movie Review website. This week, we're going to be talking about M3GAN. It's out in cinemas now. Of course, it is called M3GAN. Creepy dolls back on our cinema screens. So, we're going to be talking about this, and I am joined once again by lovely local filmmaker Adam Neeson.
Hi.
Adam, so we've got you back on. We had you on the previous show. We were talking about the Munsters. Hopefully this is going to be a more positive podcast experience for yourself.
Well, you never know, Jim.
We never know. We're going to have to wait and see what you thought of the film. So I think we'll, without any further ado, let's get stuck in and let's play a clip of M3GAN.
Studies indicate that a staggering 78% of a parent's time is spent dishing out the same basic instructions.
Oh my God, Katie, you have to flush the toilet. It is not that hard.
So we found someone else to pick up the slack.
Katie, flush the toilet. Wash your hands. Roll up your sleeves. Great job. It was my friend Jenny's birthday.
Megan's an excellent listener.
This guy told them that the 13th floor was haunted.
And she even has a few stories of her own.
If it was so, it might be. And if it were so, it would be. But as it isn't, it ain't. That's logic.
Said Tweedledee.
She'll never run out of ways to keep your child occupied. And she'll never run out of patience.
Katie, seriously, flush the toilet.
With M3GAN around, she'll take care of the little things. So you can spend more time doing the things that matter.
So that's a clip of M3GAN. It was released in cinemas last week. You and I've seen it, and we're going to be chatting about it. So this is directed by Gerard, Johnstone, and it comes from Blumhouse and James Wan's production company, which is Atomic.
Mom.
Something. It's something anyway. So it comes from Blumhouse and James Wan. So there's horror pedigree there of sorts. We have another movie with a creepy doll, but this is not a possessed doll. It's not an evil kind of ventriloquist doll. It's when will people learn the perils of AI? So they've put AI into a little doll to create a wonderful little doll that can help a girl who's grieving the loss of her parents. We can say that because that is a pre-credit sequence where we have a young girl whose name we have Katie. We have the young girl, we have Katie. She loses her parents she doesn't lose them. She's not like she walks out and she's like, I don't know where they are.
Well, my mummy go.
Where'd they go? No. We have Katie. Her parents have passed away. They were killed in a car accident. Now she has to live with her auntie. Her auntie just happens to work for a massive toy company that's not Hasbro, because as the movie says to us, fuck Hasbro. And she doesn't know really what to do. She is creating this doll to make it to market with the company. And what better thing to do to let this doll help her little niece grieve? What could possibly go wrong?
Evil robots.
Evil robots. When will people learn? Even when you look at the poster, it's like, yeah, she's evil. Yeah. From the moment you see this robot, you're like, I think they do a whole thing where it's like, smile for us, M3GAN. And she's like, yeah, she's a bad one.
Yeah, it would take one round of like a marketing team being like, no, I don't think so.
No, she's not for me. So I went into this. I didn't know really what to expect because I know this has been a massive success in the States. It's been a viral success as well because there's a whole sequence in the trailer where M3GAN dances. She can dance. She can kill and she can dance. And I had stayed away from all that. I tend to be very pessimistic when there's these type of films because I think of Smile that was out last year and I didn't really like Smile. Mm-hmm. Maybe you did. I don't know.
Big monster mouth. That's what I enjoyed.
I thought Smile was like great premise, but didn't really deliver on what it promised.
Yeah.
You know, there wasn't enough creepy smiles. That's what my lovely wife, I love her dearly, she came out of the movie and she turned to me and said, there's just not enough creepy smiles in that movie. I just wanted someone creepily smiling in every scene. It's like, that's why I love you. That's why I love you, darling. But yes, so I went to see this and I really enjoyed it. I as I said, didn't know what to expect. It's a film that promises creepy robot, and it delivers on creepy robot. There is a couple of things, there's a couple of rules for me in movies that it breaks. I don't know. Maybe we'll talk a little bit about it, and then we'll do spoiler territory. There's a couple of rules it breaks for me. I'll not talk about them just yet. It's like, whoa, you're going too far. But overall, I really liked it. But what about you?
Yeah, I really liked it too.
I'm surprised because this is from the same screenwriter who wrote *Malignant*.
You know, you can't you can't judge people by their previous work.
Even though I enjoyed *Malignant*.
Yeah. The writing in *Malignant* wasn't really the problem.
That's not
for
what
me.
we were there for.
No. I was there for hitting people with chairs.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really like this. It's quite evident. I remember reading a story that they pushed this back whenever they were doing that remake of Child's Play with Mark Hamill. They pushed this back.
Which I didn't like.
No, it was terrible. They pushed it back because they were like, some of the plot sequences are a bit too similar. And I can see where they're coming from, but this movie, there is similarities with Child's Play, the original and the remake, but this has a satirical bite that was missing from that remake of Child's Play that I really enjoyed. It starts with a RoboCop-esque commercial.
Yeah, that's perfectly pitched.
Yeah.
And as I said to you before we started to record, it reminded me heavily of of Funzo from The Simpsons. And listeners, Adam looked at me as if to go, "What are you talking about?" I'm not gonna, I really shouldn't do that impression. It's like, "What are you talking about, Millhouse?" I don't know why. Yeah, so I said to you, there's the trailer at the start, RoboCop, because RoboCop was one of the films I put down. Definitely, you can see as influence in this. And I said, "Oh, that's very Funzo-esque from The Simpsons." And when I mentioned this, listeners, to Adam, and I'm the 40-year-old in the room here. I thought I'd be like Grandpa Joe here, and he looked at me as if to go, "What are you talking about? You don't remember Funzo?"
I remember the episode, but I remember that episode for not really laughing. It's that era of The Simpsons that I'm like, not for me. You know,
a bit like you with the Munsters last week.
Not for me.
The Simpsons were going through their Munsters Rob Zombie phase.
Yeah. Well, it's just for people that listened last week, the Monsters is kind of like unfunny Simpsons.
Yeah.
It's just really like, you like to see the characters, but ugh.
But I can't remember. I can't remember the name of the toy that is in this. It's not Funzo, but how annoying would that toy be? I mean, a part of you is like, "Oh, it'd be great," but it's a toy that actually shits itself and farts.
It's a mix of like a Furby and
it's fun. Literally, all you've got to say to 99% of our audience, Adam, is go, "It's Funzo."
It's Funzo. It's
it's Funzo, but he shits himself.
There's toys that are on the market at the minute. I don't know if you've ever seen them, where they're like they have like human teeth and human eyes.
What? No. Where the fuck are you shopping? What weird kind of place are you going? No. Don't.
I'm putting it up.
You're going on the dark web?
I'm putting it up. Right. I'm gonna look up toys with human eyes. Yeah, it's
If the human eyes don't freak me out, but the fact you said human teeth.
That's the selling point. It's they have like humany teeth.
Oh.
I can't remember the name of them. Every child will want one, and apparently in this movie, in this universe, every child wants one of those toys, even though they're the worst looking toys in the world. It's like, you know, in Ant-Man when Scott gives his daughter like a really ugly doll.
Yeah,
she's like, "I love it." That's every kid in this, because like, why would you be best friends with Megan apart from her sweet dance moves?
Well, she's always there for you.
Like
she provides you moral support. She
like Sylvester McCoy.
Yeah,
throwback to last week.
Listen to previous episode, listeners. Yeah, I mean, and how many parents have? What is it they say? It's like I know this is kind of verging into spoiler territory. Like, is it 10,000? No.
Sorry, the interrupt the podcast, but they're called fugglers.
Not the thing of nightmares.
You can get it for look at these human teeth.
No, it's a thing for nightmares.
Google fugglers, audience. If you
we'll put it up on the pod afterwards. Podcast topics, fugglers.
Like, look at that.
I can't. That creeps me out. I'm sorry. This is not. It's an audio podcast. I apologize, listeners. But what Adam is showing me is very terrifying and very creepy. And I forget what we're talking about. Yes, I think I was going to say that it's like in this world, parents have like 10 grand to spend on this doll. But they kind of pitch it as it's like, well, if you're shitty parents, you don't really want to parent your child, this is the perfect doll. What could go wrong?
It is the satire of it, of being like, these are the next iPads.
Yeah.
Just distract your children with this new doll that can do everything. It can sing Titanium. When you're going to bed, it can play piano. Sweet dances.
I'd forgotten that they sing Titanium. She sings Titanium.
Because you hear it and you go, oh, what lullaby is she singing? Shimmy down. And you're like, oh.
Oh, we're going there, are we?
It's Sia, I see.
Look at you being down with the kids.
Funzo.
Yeah. 40-year-old man, I'll stick with my Fonzo reference. But yeah, there is things, there is niggles. I mean, I know it's verging into spoilers. For me, the one point where the film goes too far, in true sociopath style, M3GAN begins her killing spree. She murders a dog, listeners. And I'm like, right, I'm out. I'm morally outraged at this point. Let me just get my letter. Dear James 1. That is the one rule of cinema you don't break. Like, I wanted the dog to appear at the end and just be like, I'm okay. But it's like, no.
Like a robot?
Yeah. Just M3GAN have put on the dog's flesh. Even that would have been enough for me to pretend, go, oh, it's all right. The dog's okay.
Have you seen my dog? Is it the dog that does TikTok dances?
Yes, so we're pretty much now into spoiler territory. Yes, so we have Gemma, who's the auntie. She is the creator of M3GAN. She brings her home to help her niece grieve, but also because she doesn't know what she's doing. So in a way, this film's also got a lovely message about how to become a better person, how to become a guardian, and to do that, you have to tackle a homicidal robot.
Some people, I don't have kids, but some people say that's what it's like.
But I don't have children either, and I don't know. But I can imagine, I would imagine M3GAN in this film is possibly driven to murder because this is the worst child ever that doesn't know how to wash her hands. It's like, say it once, okay, I'll give you. But like, I think they do a repeated joke, like every there's like 3-4 cutaways, like, don't forget to wash your hands.
Did she not live through COVID?
Obviously not. COVID didn't happen in this world. Don't forget to what? Don't forget. And then, oh no, actually, don't forget to wash it. Don't forget to flush. What a fucking child doesn't,
M3GAN's cleaning big skids. The fall.
No wonder she just went homicidal. She's like, what is that kid eating?
Chicken nuggets because she doesn't have parents. It's big nuggety shits.
Oh, this podcast. This is the thing, Adam. When it's Joe, there's a structure. But with you, it's just shitty nuggets. Shitty McNuggets. Yes. So the robot is clearly driven to the point of insanity by the fact that this child, I think is it Katie? Mm-hmm. Katie's the girl. She just has no... She's homeschooled.
Yeah.
But clearly, in the whole time when she's been homeschooled, her mother never told her, flush the toilet, wash your hands... It's just, or even use a coaster properly. I don't understand what's going on with that child's upbringing.
Just thinking of the parents like on their deathbed, like, thank God.
No, just kind of turn into the mother turn into her sister, going, teach Katie how to flush the toilet. What?
Don't let her eat asparagus.
Right, we have allowed ourselves to get very much sidetracked very, very early on. So, yes, I pull it completely back. I really enjoyed this because it's kind of like the Ron Seal movie. You have a creepy robot on the poster. That's what you get. And it knows exactly what it wants to do. So what this film's about, an hour and 40 minutes?
Yeah.
It kind of... pushes itself maybe to... I think by the end it's kind of like you're running on fumes.
Yeah.
But I did enjoy it. I know already as we go in to record this podcast, I believe a sequel has been greenlit.
It kind of sets it up for one.
It does set up. It kind of goes a little bit Demon Seed-esque.
Mm-hmm.
There's a film I absolutely love without all the kind of overtures of rape and all that kind of stuff. Watch it. You'll know what I'm talking about. But there's a lot of nods. There's a lot of nods to Terminator, of course, with Skynet, because this robot can just clearly, her AI system can just take over phones, Cars.
It's funny because these similar things happen in that Child's Play remake,
That's true.
which is really odd.
See, I'm struggling to remember the remake of Child's Play. I know I've seen it. I've watched it. Isn't it Alice Audrey Plaza is the mum?
Brian Tyree Henry.
Yes, Mark Hamill, as you've mentioned, is the voice actor. And I remember I was never that enthusiastic about the remake of it when it came out because it's like, I'm not a massive fan of the Child Play movies.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's just a case of, I watched them when I was younger. It's like, oh, okay, creepy doll. All right, okay. But didn't really have the love for it that a lot of people do. There's a lot of, particularly, how many sequels? Well,
There's 7 movies and 2 seasons of the show.
There's the Child Play movies, then there's kind of, they branched into kind of the Chucky movies and kind of Bride of Chucky and all that kind of stuff. Those are the films I love because they just go for the pure absurdity.
Have you watched the show?
I haven't watched the show. I know a lot of people are massive fans.
Highly recommend it.
Okay.
Highly recommend.
So there we go. So if you take anything from this podcast, well, no, we're being positive about M3GAN.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't really know kind of where do you want to kind of segue on? I think the film knows exactly what it wants to do. There's a lot of nods to Japanese horror. When I was watching it, I couldn't, because in the way that M3GAN moves, particularly in sequences, there's a sequence in the woods and the sequences near the end where it reminds me a lot of The Grudge, reminds me a lot of Ringu. You can see the filmmakers have been influenced by a lot of other horror films.
Yeah. I would say that the director also made Housebound.
Which I haven't seen, but I know went down really well at Fright Fest a couple of years ago.
Very, very funny movie.
Okay.
And I feel like he was probably a good choice for this because it's not really a horror movie as such. It's PG-13 in America and it's
15 here.
15 over here. I think it could have got away with.
When I was watching, I do wonder why it was a 15, and I wonder if it's because it's like the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles kind of thing. Certain stuff might have been.
It's a bit too intense.
Well, not so much intense, but there's a couple of things could maybe be replicatable.
Yes.
Listeners, in case you never know, that is why I think isn't it Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles is one of the most cut movies, or had a whole lot of problems with the BBFC with the fact that isn't it Michelangelo and stuff had all their weapons, and there was all the kind of worries that kids would want to go out and.
It was called Teenage Mutant Hero Turtles.
I can't remember. There was a TV show was called one thing, and then the movie was called another.
This is a thing that annoys me about the BBFC in UK at the minute. There's no such thing as a 12 anymore. It's all 12A. Weirdly, when things go to DVD and Blu-ray, 12 magically reappears again. But 12A in the cinema.
Well, a certain cinema chain that shall remain nameless, I think, wasn't it last year with the Batman, wanted a 15A?
Yeah. And they got it, and it was disastrous.
Yeah.
I think there should be I think we should just go to PG-13 and R over here. You know the way R is like 17, but you can bring kids in if they're accompanied by an adult?
Yeah.
I think that's the way it should be. Because it in like day-to-day life, you're telling your kids what they can watch and what they can't watch. You know, it's your responsibility. So to come to a cinema and for a 16-year-old kid to stand at the door.
Adam, is this because you work in a cinema and you have to put up with really grunt? Well, I want to take my son to see this. It's a 15 and he's 3.
Well, yes, that happens all the time, and it's. I'm working at the weekend, and it's. M3GAN is going to be an annoyance because it's on TikTok, it's advertised to kids, and then kids can't come and see it. Like, what's the point? But watching this movie, it's not a horror movie. It's a dark comedy.
Yeah.
And there isn't really...
It's a dark comedy with definite horror elements, but I don't think at any point I was ever scared.
No, there's... And
I don't think it's trying to scare you.
No. You can also see where...
I think it's trying to scare you and be going, this is what could happen with AI.
Isn't this wild?
It's wild, hi? Because they're actually the directors are from Castledurg, hi?
Macrofil.
Nah, Jesus. Jesus, you want to be messing about with robots there, like, don't be doing that now.
Is Thorn doing the old Watusi? Oh, Jesus is coming at me with a knife. Do a wee jive. Philip, run.
Jesus, she can kill and she can twerk. Jesus, bye.
That used to be my wife whenever I met her.
But what did you think of Daniel O'Donnell?
Oh, no, that's a boy that can dance.
Oh, Jesus, hi.
Right.
Yeah. I don't know where we go.
I forgot where I was going. Oh, no. Don't know where.
We were talking about movie classifications and the fact that you're afeared of what's going to happen to you at the weekend when you're working in the cinema. Because some parent will go, I want to take my kids to this. Go this. You know it's 15.
I know where I was going now. You can kind of see where the clear cuts of violence are. They've already said that there's a gorier version of this movie, and you can kind of see where if it was a director who was told to just go wild, it's an 18, it's an hour, just go wild, whatever you could do, you could see it losing a lot of its charm and becoming one of those 80s throwback movies where it's like evil robot gonna kill people, gonna take heads off.
It's going to be Demon Seed.
It's gonna be Demon Seed without
the rapey overtures.
Yeah.
Have you seen Demon Seed?
I have seen Demon Seed. Unfortunately, but also fortunately, it's a good movie.
I like it.
Yeah, it's a good movie.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think a part of me, as a horror fiend, was watching it wanting more carnage. But I think towards the end of this movie, it kind of goes a little bit Evil Dead 2.
Yeah.
I got a bit of a feeling. It's like they know what they're doing. It's a bit wacky. You don't have to take it that serious.
I think they've just embraced the fact that if we can't scare you, we're going to try and make you chuckle a little bit and just kind of laugh at the absurdity at some of the stuff. And I think it's probably the right way to go. Because I think if you're trying to scare an audience now, like I'm trying to think, there was a film, was it last year? And I'm struggling to remember the name of the film. I'll think of Smile. Smile didn't work for me because it tried at times to go, oh, we're going to scare you, and it's the quiet, quiet, bang, quiet, bang. And there's one sequence in particular with Smile. You've seen Smile? There's a sequence where the protagonist is sitting in a car, and you know that it's setting itself up for a jump scare. And it sets itself up for a jump scare, and it makes no sense whatsoever, and it only exists for the pure sense to make one teenage girl in a cinema go, oh, for fuck's sake. Oh, Jesus.
Mummy.
Oh, fuck. That's the kind of thing. And I'm not a fan of that. And I think when the film goes the other way and tries to be gory and tries to kind of get under my skin, it never works. I think because like the Evil Dead, we know Evil Dead Rise is going to be out later this year. I wasn't a fan of the remake. I didn't dislike the remake, but it just went very nasty, and that's how it tried to evoke a reaction from me. Whereas you've mentioned the originals, Sam Raimi injected horror into those to kind of diffuse that situation and made it work. Anyway, I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but it's that sense of, I think the filmmakers have judged this really well.
Nice Evil Dead reference in this with some hedge clippers.
Yes.
I enjoyed that. It's the horror guy in me went, oh, Ash, tell me more.
Tell me more, indeed. I mean, as I've said, I think the film does run out of steam. I think you've kind of got nowhere else to go when you have your evil robot dancing to kind of like all guy has to do is like walk away. Yeah. At a decent pace, instead of like just standing there watching like. Those are not the noises that she makes, but you just walk away. And I think the film has nowhere else to kind of go. And I think, was it like maybe about 15, 20 minutes? Then there's a big kind of the typical kind of like last hurrah at the house. Thankfully, and I'm going to throw this out to Jonathan Cardwell if he's listening, because I've seen a tweet on Twitter, surprisingly, where he mentioned that it's like, I guarantee you, I haven't seen M3GAN. I know the last scene, and it's going to be, they're going to open a factory. There's going to be thousands of M3GANs everywhere. Jonathan, they don't do that.
If you want that, watch Child's Play 2.
That's true.
So, M3GAN, M3GAN 2.
Yeah. Well, that's what that was going to be my joke. I haven't seen 1 or 2. Haven't seen 1 or 2. I think that's a risky bit of advertising.
Well, the first 2 movies is just a young kid taking smelly shits. And the parents feel like, if only we had a robot.
The parents like going, oh my God, Katie! Feel like, Joe, like in those classic 80s sitcoms where it's like just cuts to the outside of the house, like, Katie! Like Home Alone 2. Kevin!
Did I do that?
Woo, that was smelly. If only we had a robot.
Like
I'd feel really bad if I had a robot and it was like literally, it was like I was so lazy. It's like flush that. Like how evil can you be? The evil person is not the robot; it's the child.
like the person's like, what do you want it to do? Does the robot know what the domestos is?
Yeah.
Why do you want to know? Just asking. Are they allergic to bleach? Will it stay in the fingies?
She can do it. She can hack it. But yes, I'm kind of struggling where else we can kind of go with this. But I suppose it does allow us to kind of go down the tangent of other creepy dolls in cinema. We've mentioned, of course, Child's Play. I'm not a massive fan of and I think that's because I remember, isn't it, Child's Play 2 has all the connections with the Jamie Bulger case, or is it Child's Play 3?
It was 3.
I kind of grew up in that era, and I remember that being a thing, and then I remember watching the film, I was like, going, this is it? It's like when you got to see The Exorcist for the first time, and you're like, oh, okay, I mean, I love The Exorcist, but it's like, this is what people got themselves so worked up about. Won't somebody think about the children? I enjoyed the Child's Play movies. I like the premise of it. I just don't, it doesn't hold that special place for me in my heart. Maybe it does for you.
I love Chucky and Child's Play. It is top 3 horror franchises for me. It's I have a soft spot for it since I was in a cinema 2004.
I thought you were going to say you were in Child's Play.
Me and Sylvester McCoy fight Chucky. No, I was in a cinema in 2004 and seen the trailer for Seed of Chucky. Obviously, I was 11 at the time. And it's the first time I'd ever seen Chucky. And then I was convinced after that trailer that Chucky was running about the cinema behind all the seats.
Okay.
And was going to stab me through the chair.
And that's where your love of horror began.
And I ever since then, I was always like obsessed with the idea. I had friends that were like, you just kick him. That's how you get rid of him. And I was like, no, there's more to him. He's a character with a personality. And M3GAN, if it gets a sequel or many other sequels, she's a cheeky girl, you know. She's
not one of the cheeky girls, by the way, just to clarify that.
That'd be incredible.
Would it though?
M3GAN 2, cheeky. I would enjoy that.
You've pretty much done your version of James Cameron. That's what you've done.
Wrote cheeky on the whiteboard.
Actually, you've just brought 2 stickers in of both the cheeky girls' faces and just went boom. There we go. Make it happen, listeners.
Luckily, the mayor of Hollywood is Limpet Opec. Is everybody called that guy?
Yeah.
Luckily, that's what he does now, and he's like, oh yeah, I used to love one of them.
Which one?
Who knows? Cheeky.
Right. Yes. So creepy dolls.
Yeah.
So creepy dolls. So we've mentioned Child's Play. We have done a shout out to listeners here. I've got a few here. Actually, I've got a few gems, and I think you've got them in front of you as well.
Yeah.
But is there any for you before we get into listeners that stands out for you? I have one really weird one. I don't know if it actually works because it's meant to be real life in the world of the film, but it's clearly a puppet / kind of animatronic. I can't say that word.
Animatronic?
Yeah, what he said, listeners. Creation, and it's the reindeer from the Santa Claus movies.
Oh yeah.
Oh, they're a thing of nightmares.
Yeah. It's their eyelids, isn't it?
Oh, it's the fact that they try to get reactions and make them human, and like one of them has a fart joke, and you're like, no. No, that reindeer clearly massacred a lot of cast members, and I can kind of picture the eyes glowing bright red.
I actually have a weird one like that. Sorry, listeners and Jim, that all my references are just from the strangest places.
That's why we like you.
There used to be on the Travel Channel. They would show.
That's not what I was expecting.
They would show on a loop every half an hour. Come to Orlando, and you can do this. You can ride the movies at Universal Studios. You could do this at Disney World, And they used to have, they would film the rides in certain ways to make it look like you were in, like, the ride where there was no seats or bars or like you were like walking about attractions. And there was a video for the Jurassic Park, like theme park in Universal, and it was like, come and touch a what do you call the ones with the big thing and the horns?
Them ones.
The one where Ellie is helping in Jurassic Park.
The shit one. The one that has a big dump. That is a big pile of shit.
Big pile of shit. Those were the Triceratops.
Yeah.
Those, and it was like the trailer made it look.
You know, the fact that I don't know why they'd be listening, but like there was like 4 or 5-year-old boys who are just upset because I just assume that I think everybody every boy, particularly at a certain age, not being sexist, I'm sure girls did it as well, but boys in particular, just from friends that have kids that are now boys that of that age are just obsessed with dinosaurs. You don't have to say one thing. It's like, yep, I know exactly what dinosaur you're talking about.
Which is weird because whenever I was their age, couldn't spell dinosaur. Where's the S and the A go? Never know.
You can still like them. You just don't have to be able to spell, how to say it.
That's my metaphor for life.
Yeah.
But in this advertisement, it was like these 4 kids were like right up to the Triceratops, and it was like it would turn around, and I was like, oh, you can go and touch Triceratopses. And then whenever I went to it, it was like clearly a guy in a suit. Like, oh no, it don't look like the rhino from Ace Ventura when nature calls. It looked like that, apart from Jim Carrey wasn't coming out of its butt.
Kind of hunting these rhinos.
It looked like that, and ever since I was always like, don't trust animatronic animals.
Hang on. I just wanted to clarify, just so I can work on this for therapy for you, because I've often said this podcast and the TV show is therapy for myself, so I'm just going to offer that out for you. Mm-hmm. Is your problem there with the Triceratops that you saw, or the marketing men and women that lied to you?
Well, let's actually get into something deep here. Whenever I was younger, was like 6 or 7, had a nightmare about, I was in a hotel room and the TV was on fire, and in the TV was the animatronic of King Kong.
Right.
Now, what I found out years...
Now, is it the Peter Jackson King Kong?
No, it was like...
The proper...
Yeah, the proper one. It was like... What I found out years later in travel brochures for Florida is that there was a ride called Confrontation, and the ride was the animatronic surrounded by fire.
Yeah.
And my mind put 2 and 2 together. So whenever I went on that ride, whenever I was younger, I wore sunglasses and pulled my hat over my face because I was like, oh, death is around the corner.
Right.
So ever since, I've always had a wee bit of a nightmare about King Kong because I was like, he's going to crawl through the TV and be on fire.
Well, whilst we're talking about nightmares, I think I've talked about this in this podcast before. I'm the person who for many years, I don't know why or how I got to see it, but had nightmares about the robot from Saturn 3.
Never seen it.
Oh, it's not a very good film. It when you watch it, you go, yeah, this film must have been made in like the 60s, late 60s. It's so campy, and you've got a young Harvey Keitel, a very old Kirk Douglas, and you have a very young Farrah Fawcett happens to be married to Kirk Douglas, and you're like, I think I have problems here. I have problems with this. But yeah, there's a creepy robot. I forget the name of the robot off the top of my head, but I remember for years I used to have nightmares about being like kind of in my home, and just like this robot would like rip off people's heads and it would be underneath, and yeah, I was traumatized. But the nightmares were better than the film.
Okay, so don't watch the movie.
Don't watch it. If you want to
watch your nightmares.
Watch it. Watch my nightmares, or watch it ironically. It doesn't age well. It really doesn't. It hasn't aged well with the kind of Me Too era.
Oh dear.
Just in the fact that you have Kirk Douglas and Farrah Fawcett, and there's a massive age difference between the two. But yes, there's another puppet/robot, of course, that terrified me.
What about the bouncy ball in Dark Star?
That was all right.
The Carpenter movie.
That was all right. It was the test run for Alien.
Oh, robot Bishop in Alien, when his neck is all milky.
Oh, was that in Alien 3?
Yes, Alien 3.
Yeah.
That scared the fuck out of me.
Because when it goes from weird robot or weird kind of creation to just your man whose name went out of my head.
Ian Holm?
The actor.
No.
Oh yeah, Ian Holm. Yes, Ian Holm. And I'm thinking of Ian Holm's an Alien. And they do the exact same thing where it's like weird kind of weird cheap thing, and then it just cuts to actually him.
Milky Man,
and just spitting out a wee bit of milk. Just for it's like Ridley Scott's like going, just give me one more thing.
I'm lactose intolerant.
Right, okay, so creepy dolls. So you have a list here of some, so I think I had on Instagram, so there's a few good ones here. So Jim McMorrow, who I know we've mentioned last week's show, mentioned the toys and the woman in black. I vaguely remember them, but I remember them just, I always hate when horror films, when they just have like creepy dolls just kind of placed out around the place. And it's like, I do hate filmmakers that rely on just like, particularly horror films, and bad horror films have a habit of just going, here's just a room filled with creepy clowns for no other reason other than the fact that people are creeped out by clowns.
There's a knockoff, like cheap straight to DVD series called Robert. Have you ever seen Robert? It's like a knockoff of Chucky and Annabelle, and it's basically movies that be like, here isn't he creepy, and that's it. Nothing really.
Every week he's a bit creepy. So Jonathan Cardwell, who I know I've mentioned this week as well, he doesn't know if it counts, but the deer head in Evil Dead 2 creeped him out.
Yeah, the sudden twist of the neck, and the white eyes is quite scary.
Yeah, I can get that. We have a mention here for Chucky, Puppet Master, Dead Silence, and Dolls.
Dolls. The Brand Newsma movie,
and Readers from the Morgue, aka Victoria Brown. Just use your own
Brown.
Just use your own handle, Brown. Again, she mentions Dead Silence. Nobody mentioned. I did throw it onto the image that we used. Nobody mentioned the creepy dolls from the episode of the Doctor Who. I think it's the Mark Gatiss episode. I've got them on the cover. I forget what their name. They're called the big dolls with the oversized head.
Oh, yeah, I never really.
And people get turned into the dolls. I think it's Amy gets turned into a doll, and you're like.
On Twitter, we have Mark Young saying the real life Annabelle is freaky.
Is it though? It's a big raggedy doll.
Raggedy Ann
doll. Like Annabelle is creepy. I've seen, because I think the movie house have had Annabelle down a couple of times, and I know there's a cosplayer.
Just for the crack?
Just for the crack, why not? They just say, like, what could go wrong?
Can you do somebody clothes?
But yeah, and I also know there's a couple of guests we've had on the pod on the TV show who cosplay as Annabelle, and it's like, no, it's not nice.
It is weird that Annabelle has it has a trilogy now.
Yeah.
And there probably will be more. But it's like, she's never the antagonist. It's always something else.
Yeah, but that's because she's the gateway, or what's the term that they use? There's a term they use, gateways when it kind of
like a cipher,
something like that for for demons to kind of be able to come through.
For the evil.
Do
you remember? Did you see Annabelle Comes Home?
Is that the last one where like Vera Farmiga and Patrick Wilson are like hello at the start, and then they go way off, and then they come back and like, hiya guys, it's technically a Conjuring movie. We're at the start, we're at the end. It's a Conjuring movie.
I like the reference in the trailer, because there's a bit where a girl asks, they're like, don't be touching anything in the scary room, and then shit starts happening, and they're like, what did you touch? And she slowly turns
everything.
Everything.
I quite like Annabelle Comes. I think of the 3 Annabelle movies, it was probably my favourite.
It has a weird bit with the werewolf. Do you remember that?
Yeah, the werewolf that just appears outside for no apart reason.
The guy with the penny eyes.
Oh, the Ferryman or something. Ferryman, not the band. The Ferryman or something like that. That only for me, I believe, exists just to, we're going to sprout off and have more things in the Conjuring universe. But no, what are we going to get? The Nun 2. None of this and none of that.
Do you like magic?
Is that Anthony Hopkins? It's been a while since I've seen it. Or do you
just
mean
in general? Watch this, Chip.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Anthony Hopkins movie.
Yeah, it's been a while since I've seen it. I do like it because I think I watched it. Isn't it Dead Silence is the James Wan?
Yeah.
Which I love, and I think that's getting a remaster this year. It's being re-released, I think, on DVD and Blu-ray.
It's got a terrible end.
Yes, but there's a lot of things to admire about it. You know, good films can have bad endings. Bad films can have good endings.
Bad films can have bad endings.
Yes. And bad. Yeah, no, we're not going down that one.
Sam Raimi's remaking Magic,
Oh, okay.
directing it. So,
It's good to see him behind the director's chair.
because he didn't make anything last year.
No.
Kevin Feige made a Doctor Strange movie, and Sam Raimi was there.
Yeah, it's true. That's true. I mean, that was a big disappointment for me. I don't really want to pull too much thread on the Marvel thread because I know we're going to have a new one out in a couple of weeks. Probably the time this podcast is out, will probably be just about being released. And I'm a little bit more excited than about Ant-Man and Quantumania. Is that what they call it? I'm more excited about it than I thought it would be. But I think it's just 99% of that is because I like Paul Rudd. And that's basically what that film. If any harm comes to Paul Rudd in that film, we riot.
Yeah.
I'm just gonna say right now. The whole point of that film is that he has to sacrifice himself for the greater good. I'm rioting. I'm sorry. Whatever cinema I'm at, I'm rioting. If any harm comes to Paul Rudd in any possible future Marvel movies,
I'm gonna put money on it. Rudd won't die. Michael Douglas will.
Michelle Pfeiffer.
Yeah, the Fife. Bill Murray?
Yeah, well, there's problems with Bill Murray, so that's probably why. I feel we've allowed ourselves to get sidetracked into kind of Marvel stuff. So creepy dolls. Have you anything else that you have there?
You have Jigsaw from Saw.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think creepy doll movies are. It is the Chucky thing. Just kick them. You have to really be smart to work around how to make them scary. And do you remember Brahms, The Boy 2?
Oh, yes.
The Boy 1 was just, spoilers, a guy lived in the walls and was moving Brahms about. And then Brahms, The Boy 2 was...
This time it's personal.
Michael Caine returned. Brahms was a demon thing, and it lost the creepiness of the first movie. Not that to say that the first movie is very good, but whenever you take it into, it's just a demon. Isn't this spooky? It's not as fun. Whereas I think there is an inherent terror that your toys are going to come to life and kill you when you're younger.
I'm surprised none of us have mentioned the creepy doll from Poltergeist. That clown in that was a thing of nightmares. And then I know when they made the remake, they kind of heavily used that clown for their... Well, not that specific clown, but the clown sequence for the advertising. It's it's nowhere near as creepy as that.
And
then, wasn't it Scary Movie kind of ruined it?
Big penis.
Yeah.
Yeah. Being an epileptic boy like I am, I can't watch Poltergeist anymore. Not very good. Because it's just flashing for the first hour. And then the end is they're here, more flashing. I'll never watch it again.
Just watch it with one eye.
Just risk it.
Do it. It's worth it.
If I piss myself, I'll be like, yeah, it was definitely a fit. It's just the fear. Because Poltergeist has one of the scariest moments in history, which I rewatched on YouTube recently. The bit in the mirror with the face.
Yeah.
I was like, that's so fucking scary. I watched that when I was a kid. That was terrifying. Rewatched it recently. Doesn't look very good.
No, it's a bit like the stuff in Indiana Jones when they're kind of melting.
Yeah.
It's it doesn't scare me as much as it did when I was younger.
Yeah.
But Poltergeist was another one coming back to our earlier conversation. I think, is it a 12A? It's not.
Yeah, I think so. There's not much in it. There's
and that's another connection. Sam Raimi produced the remake.
What remake?
Yeah, poor old Sam. I just want to throw this out as well. All of them, it's Portrush Film Club or Portrush Film Theatre. All of them have just said kind of a piffy comment, trying to be funny. And I think it is quite funny. Everyone in the Valley of the Dolls. That's scary. That's very true.
Yeah.
Or even more so beyond the Valley of the Dolls.
Oh, Roger Ebert.
Roger Ebert, what were you doing? Roger Ebert, you mucky pup.
I want to see boobies. We all do, Roger, but don't make it so public.
Who doesn't like boobies? Well, we're not pulling that thread. A lot of threads we're not pulling on. But yeah, I mean, there's Creepy Dolls, kind of a rambly podcast, as always when we get you on, Adam, which is kind of why I love it. Bringing it back to M3GAN, I enjoyed this and I would recommend it to people. Yeah, I think if you're going into expecting to be scared, I think you will be disappointed. I think the 15 does raise the bar to an extent of what you think you're going to get. And I'm trying to think of more recently, there was, isn't it Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark?
Yes.
Which was a 15. And I remember watching it going, why is this a 15? Because you think of like stuff like, I'm trying to think, what is a 15 nowadays? There was a whole controversy about Joker, which I know we mentioned either in this podcast or in the previous episode, where people wanted it to be an 18. You're like, no, it's okay. It's just a 15. So it is weird when you think about the whole classification thing of what actually is a 12A, what's 15. I know the BBFC talk about they have to take into consideration kind of tone and kind of the context of everything. I don't know. I mean, I think M3GAN could be a 12A, and I know they're making a sequel, I believe, to Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark. I liked it. I enjoyed it for what it was. It's just that I didn't think it needed to be a 15.
My letterbox review of that movie was shite stories to tell nobody.
So clearly, listeners, Adam did not enjoy that movie.
Terrible.
I didn't think it was terrible. I just thought it just wasn't Goosebumps. It was trying to be a more edgier version of Goosebumps, and Goosebumps, which has a creepy doll.
Oh, Slappy.
Yeah, there we go. Jim always bringing it back. Creepy doll, and that's showing what you can do. What I believe Goosebumps. I think it might have been a PG.
I think so as well. Yeah.
Just shows you what you can do, kids, when you're trying.
Well, even like the old TV show that used to be on Fox Kids, 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and they're showing you Slappy and the mask you can't take off, and the killer bees, and the photograph, say cheese and die.
Yeah.
It can be done. It's actually a good example, because you have R.L. Stine that does Goosebumps, but he also did Fear Street, and you had Fear Street on Netflix 2 years ago or whatever, and that was very big with younger audiences, like the Stranger Things audiences, but had a scene where someone gets their head cut with a bread slicer, and it was kind of like, the internet was like so gory, but it was like the horror people liked that stuff, and the kids liked the goosebumpy stuff.
Yeah.
And with M3GAN, it's kind of like good gateway horror.
Yeah, I mean, we talk about this with Disney. Anytime we have Brian on, we're talking about, resident Disney queen. Sorry, as I have to say it properly. Resident Disney queen. Victoria Bryan. We talk about gateway drugs into Disney. Is a good gateway drug into horror. I don't think it's... There is a... I mean, coming back to kind of, in terms of reviewing the film, there was a point early on where there's a sequence in a car, not the aforementioned unfortunate event right at the start, but there's a sequence where Auntie and niece are coming back to their house, and there's a jump scare with a dog, and you're like, oh fuck, is this what you're going to do? Is this what I'm going to get for 90 minutes now? Jump scare, jump scare, jump scare. And to be fair, the film doesn't mean there is, I think, maybe about 2 or 3 jump scares, not enough to annoy me. And yeah, I think it's a good gateway drug into horror. I come back to that point. Go into it with your expectations that it's not trying to ick you out. It's not trying to gross you out. It's just trying to have a bit of fun. It's a film about a homicidal, which is not even homicidal, just a very protective robot doll. She just wants to protect little Katie, who can't wipe her own arse. Well, we don't know if she can't wipe her arse. That's maybe, sorry, I think I just spat on you there. We don't know if she can't wipe her arse. Maybe that's the step too far. She's like, fuck this. I'm just going to go out here and kill the neighbour.
I've run out of Daz. I can't get these whites whiter than white.
Battery low. I'm sorry, low power mode activated. God.
Are you saying that M3GAN gets sick of cleaning the skids? So she's like, M3GAN, you haven't done the bathroom. I'm in sleep mode now.
I will sing for you, titanium. Oh, Jesus, no. Yeah, that was the one thing. That little montage did make me laugh, and it just made people go, no wonder this robot was driven to insanity. But I also was like, I know their parents are dead. I'm repeating this joke. I know her parents are dead, but they were shit parents.
Oh yeah.
Also, I'm going to say this. How old would you say Katie is?
Like 9.
I think she's too... There's a sequence in this film where she's meeting M3GAN for the first time, and all the toy execs are creepily behind the glass. They're like all watching, going, what are they going to do? They're not really doing that, but they're just like, oh, what's going to happen? And she wants to draw. It's like, come on, no 9-year-old's going to want to sit. Let's draw.
Yeah. It's I don't know. It is how do you show that this kid is a kid? It's the movie thing of kids.
Are you sure that she can't flush the fucking toilet? I sound like I'm obsessed about this, but it was just like, okay, once I'll get that. But it's like, come on now, Katie, wash your hands, flush the toilet. That's how she talks.
It's why it's a 15.
Yeah, wipe your ass.
I just want to make a poo jokes, but I can't.
So you're just thinking of that deleted scene. The auntie opens the door, and it's like, no, Katie, that's not what she was built for. You were built to make the world better. What's that from? What's that Simpsons? Is that Simpsons? What's that movie from?
Oh,
you were meant to make the world better, not destroy it.
Bicentennial Man.
Yeah, that Robin Williams. There's another robot that creeped everybody out.
A robot that can't clean skids.
He just wants to live.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor old Robin Williams.
I always get that movie because it was like same era where I watched it. It was like that and Jack.
Oh.
It's like, does the robot get his arse out at the end? You're like, no, that's Jack.
Or Jacob the Liar. That's another one.
What's that?
Oh, it's kind of Robin Williams kind of trying to do comedy, but trying to do heartfelt comedy. It's just I think he works. He doesn't work. He's in one of the concentration camps, and in
World War II.
In World War II, and he tells lies to people to try and make them feel better. I could be getting this wrong. It's not a bad film, but it's kind of Robin Williams trying to carry on the kind of Good Will Hunting vibes and all that kind of stuff. So he plays a character who's, I believe, let me get this on IMDb just to make sure I'm not completely wrong, where it's like Jacob the Liar.
I'm just thinking of
a film about a homicidal robot that just won't clean people's ass.
I'm just thinking of Jacob telling Hitler that his wife farts in his sleep. And Hitler being like, oh, it's so funny, Jacob.
This is why I hate the Jews. Always fart. Always there's the fart in your Jews.
There's such a farty culture.
It's a very Taika Waititi Hitler. I'm going. I can't even find it on. Here we go. 1989.
Did you have a nightmare about this?
No. During World War II, an ordinary inhabitant of the ghetto fakes news about Allied offenses. You wouldn't think I fucking read the news. During World War II, an ordinary inhabitant of the ghetto fakes news about Allied offences to inspire hope for other victims of the Nazi regime.
This sounds wild. Robin Williams. Who else is in it?
Hitler. Hannah Taylor-Gordon.
Ah,
Hannah. Justef von Duygent.
Mm-hmm.
Kathleen Gady. Oh, Alan Arkin's in it.
Well, he's always a good laugh.
Rob Balaban's in it.
Rob Balaban.
Michael Jeter.
I fucking love Michael Jeter. Have you ever seen Michael Jeter do...
Do you know who else is in it? Liv Schreiber.
Wolverine?
Yeah.
No, not Wolverine. Fucking Sabretooth?
Sabretooth's in it.
Have you ever seen Michael Jeter do...
There's actually a character here, Anton Leeson, and he's known as Pegleg.
Peggy.
Pegleg. And other people are in it.
Have you ever seen Michael Jeter do... I can't remember what the musical's called, but he won a Tony for it. It's about him.
This is worse than a Jim McClane half fact.
It's him and another guy at a bar, and they're holding on to a bar, and they're having to act taking drinks.
Right.
Some of the best dancing you'll ever see. Like Michael Jeter, you know.
Even better than in M3GAN?
Yes.
You sure?
Yes.
To be fair, I mean, a lot has been made about the dance sequence in M3GAN. For all of what you see in the trailer is pretty much what you see of the dance.
Yeah.
And does really doing like kind of, what do you call
Jim's dancing.
Jim's dancing. No, that's not me dancing. You know, cheeky. No, not handstands, cartwheels. Does that really count as dancing?
To 7-year-olds, yes.
then I stand corrected.
Working in a cinema, I don't think I've ever seen a young girl come into the cinema and not see them do cartwheels. They're obsessed. It's weird.
Really?
Yeah, like constant.
Is this going in or going out of the cinema?
In.
Okay.
You know, like
And they just come out after watching kind of the Munsters or something, and they're like really depressed.
they're like Jake Elwood. I see the light. And they start doing backflips.
Right.
Jim, before I don't know if you forgot or not, but our beautiful Joe wanted to ask me a question.
Oh yes, I apologize. Right. Okay. A couple of weeks ago, when we had Joe on the pod, you emailed in when we were talking about Avatar because you wanted us to do some Avatar-esque lines. Avatar, where the water?
Where the water?
In any line. I'm a Navi, you idiot! Etc. See previous podcast. So Joe then felt the need, whenever he heard that you were going to be on the pod, he said that he would have to ask you a question.
Ooh.
So from Joe McElroy, Banderflix's deputy editor.
Better be, will you marry me? And Joe, the answer is yes.
Always. Didn't even have to ask. I've just got the dress waiting for the day.
Like,
So-
we're coming down the stairs.
Yeah. So, Joe would like to know, would you rather fight 20 Chucky-sized versions of Arnold Schwarzenegger or one Chucky the size of Arnold Schwarzenegger?
Now, when you say Chucky-sized Schwarzeneggers, I'm thinking of Major Chip Hazard from Small Soldiers.
Mm-hmm.
That's where my brain immediately went.
Yeah.
Now, are we talking weapons?
Listeners, I love the fact that we've asked Adam to review movies for us. That, or this week. It's like, this is the one thing you can actually get a sense like, I'm thinking about this.
I do love a good, silly question and putting some thought behind it.
I'm actually going to throw in to this because this is I feel, Joe, as much as I love you, I did actually ask a very similar question to Banderflix's master storyteller, Darren Vincent. I'll ask you that question after you've answered this.
Okay. Do they have weapons?
I'd imagine so, yeah.
We talking knives?
Whatever they can find in your average kitchen.
Oh, okay. Now, you don't know what my average kitchen looks like. Might be quite sterile.
Well, that means, like in true Hunger Games style, the odds are forever in your favour.
They are true. Right, so a big Arnie type Chucky. I don't know. I think... Because you can't really kill him unless you destroy the heart. So... I would say an Arnie-sized Chucky.
Yeah, because he's going to be slow
It's
and
one...
cumbersome, and it's one. Your odds are kind of, there's 1v1.
Yeah.
But a lot of, like, 20, I'm going to be knackered by the time I've killed kind of at least 2 or 3. And by the time I'm killing one, another one will have probably already got my throat and slipped me. Well, that's not Arnie style.
Hi, my name's Chucky. I'm your friend to the end. Hi-de-ho.
I'm a good guy.
Yeah, big Chucky, I think. Because are we talking he's just became the doll, or has he been the doll for more than a week? Because that's when he becomes more human. Jim, of course.
We'll maybe have to wait till the next time you're on the show, and we'll get Joe to add in more details to this. Then this will just carry on. Now, this, as I say, when Joe sent me this today via text, I said to myself, oh, this reminds me a lot of the questions I've already mentioned to Darren Vincent. When I did try to ask Darren this question, it took me at least 15 minutes to get through it because I'm a very visual person and I was visualizing this in my head. So my similar-ish question asked many moons ago in the previous format for this podcast, would you rather fight 100 Arnold Schwarzenegger-sized Danny DeVitos or 100 Danny DeVito-sized Arnold Schwarzeneggers?
Now, again...
I'm really proud of myself. I got through that question because I just pictured just loads of little Danny DeVito-esque kind of Arnold Schwarzeneggers.
Are we... well, they are twins, of course.
Yeah. Eddie Murphy's going to be in there somewhere.
Of course.
In development, listeners.
Are we talking football field rules?
Yeah.
Is it... we're on a football field?
Yeah. You're at the halfway line.
Uh-huh.
On one side, there's 100 Arnold Schwarzenegger-sized Danny DeVitos. And then on the other side, there is... whatever the opposite is.
Yeah.
100 Danny DeVito-sized Arnold Schwarzeneggers or 100 Arnold-sized Danny DeVitos.
We talking weapons?
Whatever they can get on the pitch. Basically, they've come to Windsor Park. It's whatever they've been able to get from the car park. They've heard you've bad mouthed.
That's a real, in the car park of Windsor could be a lot of things.
They've heard that you've bad mouthed triplets. You're not too pleased about saying that Eddie Murphy can't be in the film.
I feel like Tracy Morgan's the better choice.
Yeah. And they're not pleased about it, so they've been brought on buses by Eddie Murphy. They've come unarmed, but whatever they can pick up between getting off the bus and to getting at you in the middle of the pitch.
And
don't forget there is a home base in Boucher Road, but they have to go all the way up that way
and back again.
Yeah,
they'd be like, "I'll wait."
The 100 Arnold Schwarzenegger sized Danny DeVitos, they'd be grand because they're fit. I don't reckon 100 Danny DeVito sized. I don't reckon that the Danny DeVito that's Arnold Schwarzenegger sized. I think maybe 20 of them are going to get back. They'll have died.
You're right, because they will have. If it's a football field,
I don't think their cardio game's as good as Arnold. That's what I'm relying on. My cardio game is not good.
I'd be like, if you want me, come run at me.
Yeah.
Then as one appears, bang, punch, bang, 2, bang, 3. Yeah. We're going to 100. But I won't get to 100 because most of them will have died and tripped over themselves. I'm going DeVito-sized Arnolds.
I like your reasoning.
I don't, because I'm not a tall man, Jim. In spirit, I'm a giant, but in reality, I'm probably between Arnold and Danny on the height.
Is Arnold that tall though?
Let's find out. Let's ask. What size is Arnold Schwarzenegger in feet? We'll have to ask Megan. He's 6'3".
That's only a wee bit taller than me.
And then, what size is Danny DeVito in feet?
1.
He's 4'10".
I could take him.
Oh, you could take Danny DeVito all day. On the pitch, on the bedroom. So I'm 5'7". So I really am in between the heights of them.
Hey Siri, how tall is Eddie Murphy?
Eddie Murphy is 5'9".
Oh, he's a wee bit taller than me.
That's all right then.
Could I fight 50 Eddie Murphys? Wait, yeah. What if it's 33 Eddie Murphys, 33 Schwarzeneggers, and 33 DeVitos?
Why are you going 33?
Because then you'll have 99.
But who's going to be the last one? Oh, just you?
Yeah, me.
Okay, so just 100 battle royale.
Yeah.
And one Danny Glover who's just kind of going, I'm getting too old for this shit. Right. I feel we've kind of pulled on this. I think we lost ourselves about a good half hour ago. So, yes. So, in answer to Joe's question.
Joe, next time you're on the podcast.
Hit me up.
And
baby.
Then I'll
get that proposal out.
I'll rebut on the next podcast I'm on.
Yeah, get that proposal out. Don't tell Catherine, Joe, but Adam's coming for you.
I'm coming indeed.
On that bombshell, listeners, that's all from me. So on that bombshell, listeners, that's all from us this week. So thank you very much, Adam.
Thanks, Jim.
Thanks very much for listening. We'll be back next week with another episode, and Joe will be on. We're going to be talking about True Lies, and I know we'll probably, after that, we'll be into Marvel territory, and we will probably be talking about Ant-Man and Quantumania, whatever it's called.
They're really small.
They're really small, and there's a lot of Paul Rudds. And as I've said before, listeners, if anything happens to Paul Rudd, we riot. So that's all from us. So all that's left for me to say now is goodbye. Don't know why I waved. I waved at you. Bye.